Hello and welcome back to the fifth lesson of the Year 2 Theory and Methods section of the online series. Before we look at the next section of sociological theory, I want you to imagine a scenario where Basingstoke, or wherever you live, has flooded and is set to remain that way for the foreseeable future. With that in mind, please answer the following questions. Press pause now while you answer these questions. Press pause as you add this as your title for this specific section, either written down on paper or typed on a computer. Functionalism with specific reference to Parsons. To supplement this video on the work of Parsons and then latterly Merton, please see the Google document that I've linked to this lesson via Classroom entitled Functionalism Detail Sheet, Parsons and Merton. As you can see, Talcott Parsons is, to coin a phrase from Ralph Fevre, another dead white male sociologist. He is regarded as one of the most influential sociologists, and you're familiar with his work as a functionalist both in families and in education. He took a number of ideas from Durkheim and developed them. Like Durkheim, he is a functionalist, meaning that he would support the idea of a consensus in our society. He is a structuralist in keeping with the functionalist tradition. We also associate the concept value consensus with the work of Talcott Parsons, as defined here, and it should be in your notes as well. Please press pause as you make a note of this term. For Parsons, roles provided the means whereby values and goals are translated into action. A social institution consists of a combination of roles. Recap: from families and households, Parsons discusses the two basic and irreducible functions of the family being performed by a traditional two-parent nuclear family, with the father playing the instrumental role and the mother the expressive role. Recall the importance of this, according to Parsons, to the maintenance of society as a whole. This idea about functional prerequisites is probably best developed via an example, so please cast your mind back to the flood activity and the responses to the questions posed at the start of this video. Your answers that you provided here essentially represent what Parsons will describe as the functional prerequisites of any society, the basic needs that must be met if society is to survive. For Parsons, society has four basic needs, and these are met through what he calls the Gale model. And in this case, it's not a windy gale. This is a brief overview of the GAIL, Gale model. Please read the reading for more information about this. This is a very brief summary of the Gale model according to Talcott Parsons. Make a note of this and supplement it with notes from your reading. There is actually some debate about who actually came up with the term the organic analogy, but in this sense it fits with the other ideas related to Talcott Parsons. Robert K. Merton is also a functionalist, although he makes what is known as an internal criticism of the theory, which you can read more about in the attached document. Here, though, I just want you to develop two related concepts to provide more detail of a functionalist analysis of what society is like. Merton makes a distinction between different functions. The first is what he refers to as the manifest function, what he would say is the intended consequence. And the second is what he refers to as the latent function, the unintended consequence. Make a note of these two terms and add them to your functionalist glossary. Having defined those terms, education now provides us with quite a good example of them, especially in functionalist terms. Now consider the manifest and then the latent functions here with regards to education. The manifest would probably be, say for example, the skills and knowledge. You can recall a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and I before e unless there's a c, for example. Whereas the latent is what we might refer to as the wider social skills that you learn, such as waiting your turn, lining up in class. Try to add your own examples here to develop Merton's idea of the manifest and latent functions. Merton provides us with an internal critique of functionalism, but we need some more detail. Just in case you get a question such as this in the exam, it was the 10-mark question asked you to outline and explain two problems of using the functionalist perspective to study today's society. For more detail on the direct criticisms of functionalism, please see the Google document that I've linked to this lesson. This one is entitled Criticisms of Functionalism. These are the headings that appear on the document that I want you to read. But as you can see, a number of the direct criticisms of functionalism are actually made by other sociological perspectives. Therefore, as we cover those, not only are you enhancing your knowledge of those theories themselves, but also covering more that could be used to criticise the other theories. And as always, we can come back to this diagram to help organise our ideas. For instance, here we can see that functionalism is a theory that is based on, or is a structuralist theory based on consensus. Therefore, we can criticise it using conflict theories or also non-structuralist theories as well. Next time we'll have a look at the new right. Although this isn't really a sociological theory, it does link quite well to functionalism.